Daf Chaf Hayam at base, 4 lines from the top. We're in the middle of a discussion about the pious, the Geirel. Is it the way they do it is that the first one that's Zeicha with the Geirel, and then they continue on to the ones that are to his right, and there's no separate Geirel, no separate pious for each of the Avodas? Is it the first one is Zeicha, and then it continues along? Or is there a Geirel, a pious, for each of the Avodas individually, separately? We wanted to bring a raya from a brisa that Rabbi Yehuda says there was no pious for the machta. Rather, the kohen that was achad b'ktayres, the one that was next to him, he would be zeich the machta. He would say to the kohen that was next to him, zechei imi b'machta. So, therefore, we see over here that there was no separate geirel for each avodah. So, we had one way of interpreting the brisa previously. Now the Gemara says ikada amri. There's another way of interpreting the brisa. Ikada amri davke machta k'tayres. We want to prove and bring a raya from here that it says not davke the machta k'tayres, meaning that the proof is that there's no separate geiral only for the machta k'tayres. That's where there's no separate geiral. That's where we say the kain says to the one to his the next to him to his right, he says zachimi. Over there, because the charavayri. That's because it's one avodah, the keteris, and the one who has the mach, the shovel, bringing in the coals to burn the keteris. Avoshar avodas by pious. But let's make a diak that for other avodas, each avodah would need a separate pious, a separate goyrel. So therefore, bring a raya for care that you do need a separate goyrel. The Gemara says no. Machde tzrichalei, you have no raya because perhaps I'll tell you the machde tzrichalei. It's necessary to tell me this din by the machta. That over there by the machta, that he says to the one that's next to him, meaning, really, I'll tell you that in all of the avodas it's that way. But I might have thought that by keteris it's not that way, because I might have thought since the keteris is not common, it's only burned twice a day, and you cannot bring in the davar for keteris. It's only specific to this. The avodas by the korbanos, even though by the Talmud is also brought twice a day, but there are many avodas of the korbanos that are done throughout the day. There's korbanos of chayva and adova, so zakter adva, and therefore this is not frequent because even though the Talmud is not frequent, it's only twice a day, but the avodas of the zvachim is frequent, but this is not. So, and there's also a great tzchos to have the keteris, because there's a segula that it causes a person, it enables him to become wealthy. There's a bracha, a special bracha that it gives him wealth. So I might have thought, I would have thought that for each chelik of it there should be a separate geirel. So I would have thought that for the machta it should have a separate geirel, kamash milan, to tell me that no, that even for here it's only one geirel. It's only one geirel for this. So therefore you have no raya. However, Tashma the Gemara brings a raya. The Tani Rabbi Chia loy l'chol avoda mefaisen. They did not have a special geirel for every avoda. Elakayin shezocha b'tamid. The kayin is zocha b'tamid. Shneim asar echav hakahanim nimshachim imay. The 12 that are next to him in a line, they're nimshachim imay. They're drawn with them shmamino. So you see from here an explicit brisa that it is really the way that we were medayik, that it's not only by the keteris, it's even by the keteris, but certainly by the other avodas. There's no separate geirel. It's the one who's zeicha, he says to the one next to him, and each one follows along the ones that are to the right of him, the 12 that are to the right, the kahanim 12 to the right of him are zeicha. Pious Hasheni, the second geirel is who shechs the tomir and who does the zrika as hadam. Now the Mishnah did not say who does the kabbalah hadam, so therefore there must be that there was no separate kayan, no separate person that did the kabbalah. The one who did the kabbalah is either the sheichet or the one that does the zrika or the zayr, but there is no separate geirel for the one who does the kabbalah. So, therefore, we have the following shaila: Mi mekabel. Who does the kabbalah? Do we say that the sheikhet mekabel, or do we say that the sheikhet is the one that he also is mekabel the dam? And why would I say the sheikhet, the amrat sheikhet mekabel? Because if I would say that the zarik is mekabel, I would say agav chavivusula mekabel el kol adam. Since he is so enthusiastic, and since he has such a chavivus, a passion to do the zrika, perhaps he won't be makabel all of the dam. And it's a mitzvah, it's not mag, but it's a mitzvah to be makabel all of the dam. So therefore, perhaps that's why we say that it is the sheikhet who does the kabbalah and not the zarik. Or dilma, or perhaps we have a for the other way. Dilma zarik makabel. Perhaps we should say no. It's after the zarik is makabel. The amrat sheikhet makabel, because you say the sheikhet is on makabel zim the shachat zar. Now shchita is kosher with a zar. So sometimes it'll occur that the shchita was done by a zar, and if you say that he, the sheikhet, is the one makabel, but a kabbalah cannot be done by a zar, and then the sheikhet will do the kabbalah, which is of course also. And therefore we institute that therefore it should be the zarik that's makabel the dam. So that's the shaila. Do we say it's the sheikhet does makabel or the zarik? Tashma, let's make a right from the following. Braisa ben kotin also shneim also dad lakir. Ben kotin, he made on the kiyar 12 spouts. He made 12 spouts so that kadesh shneim also echa v'kanim asukim betomid mekachim idim ragleim bevas achat. Because there's 12 kohanim that were sukim that are oisik in the tomid. And therefore, in order they know prior to doing the avodah, they have to wash their hands and feet from the kiyar. In order not to cause a delay, he made 12 spouts so that they can all wash simultaneously, and they will all be ready and fit to do the avodah right away. Now, he made 12 spouts. Now, there's 12 that we have 12, but there's plus the sheikhet. Now, if you say that the sheikhet is the one that does the kabbalah, then there's a total of 13 kahanim involved. Now, the shchita itself, the one who's sheikhet, doesn't have to do kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Him on his own, there's no requirement for kiddush yadayim v'raglayim to do the shchita. But if he's also doing the makabel for kabbalas adam, that's an avodah, and that therefore would require kiddush yadayim raglaim. If he also does the kabbalah, he would need kiddush yadayim raglaim. So there should be 13 spouts. So v'isal g'daitach sheichan makabel tleisar havi, there should be 13. And allow shema minah zarik makabel shema minah. Therefore, you can bring a raya that the one that does the kabbalah is the zarik. We learned to be fair in the Mishnah, Shachat HaSheichet, the one who sheichs the sheichet, V'kibel HaMekabel, and the one who does the makabel, meaning it's somebody else other than the sheichet, V'kibel Mekabel, V'olo Lizrek, and he comes to throw the dam, Shema Minah. We see that the one who throws the blood is the one who does the kabbalah. It's not the sheichet, it's shachat sheichet, kibel makabel, ubaloi lizrik, and then he comes to do the zrika. So we learned in the Mishnah that they brought up the different limbs, the different ivorim to the mizbeach, and the Mishnah lists the order in which it brought up to the mizbeach. The Mishnah says that it's brought up in the following order, that it's harosh v'haregel. So see the Gemara will have different opinions as to what the order is about bringing the Evorim to the Kedesh. But everybody agrees that the head is first, so we'll learn out, and the Gemara will learn out from the Pasuk, and next to that is the regel. The regel is the one that's next to that. We'll see in the Gemara also why that's the case. But then there's a machlokes about the rest of the limbs. So our Mishnah says, after it's a reish regel, shtei hayadayim, ukas haregel, hachaz v'agero, shtei hadafonos v'kirbayim, it says v'chavitin, v'ayayim. That's the list according to our Mishnah. Now the Gemara will give other opinions. Omar ben Az, Alifnei Rabbi Kiva, ben as I said before, Rabbi Kiva, it's not the way the list is listed by the Tanakama, rather it's offered in kederech hilucha, in the way that it walked. So what does that mean? Tan Rabbanon, Ketzad derech hilucha. What is the order which is derech hilucha? It's harosh v'regel. Like we said before, that it's first the head. Everyone agrees it's first the head, and then the right hind leg goes with it. Then it says Hachazav Agera, it's the chest and the neck, Ushtei Yadayim, and the two forelegs, Ushtei Tefonos, the two flanks, Ha'ukas V'Haregel, and the Ukas V'Haregel. That is what's called Derech Hilucha, the way that it walks, meaning from front to back. Rav Yasi says Derech Hefshet Hayakar. He says no, it was Derech Hefshet. It was from back to front. So again, Ketzer Derech Hefshet HaRosh V'Haregel, the Rosh Regel is first, but now it goes from the back. Ha'oketz V'Haregel, it's the tail with the left hind leg. Ushtei Tefonos, and the two flanks, Ushtei Yadayim, and the two forelegs, Ha'chaza V'Hagera, the chest and the neck. Rabbi Kiva says, Derech Nitucha Hayakor. It was brought the way it was cut up, the way it was dismembered. Ketzer Derech Nitucha, again, Harosh V'Haregel, that's first. But then Ushtei Yadayim, the two forelegs, Ha'chaza V'Hagera, the chest and the neck, Ushtei Tefonos, the two flanks, Ha'oketz V'Haregel, and the tail with the hind leg. Rabbi Yasi Glili Yomer, he says it was a different order. Derech Iluyav Hayakarav, it was offered according to the order of the quality, the higher quality first, and then in descending order. So, Ketzer Derech Iluyav, what is the order of the quality? Which are the best qualities? Harosh V'Haregel, the Rosh Regel is first. And then it is Hachazav Agera, the chest at the neck, Ushtei Tefonos, and the two flanks, Ha'oketz V'Haregel, the tail with the left hind leg, Ushtei Yadayim. So, by mentioning the Ushtei Tefonos, which, according to Rashi, which that includes includes the shoulder, that means that he holds that's a better quality than the thigh. It says all the good portions, the good cuts, Kol Nesav Yorech V'Kosev. It mentions first the Yorech, the thigh, then it mentions the shoulder. Now the thigh is included in the hind leg. So, therefore, it should have mentioned that before, it should have mentioned the hind leg, and before it mentions the flanks. And here we see it's the opposite from the Gemara, Ha'ibik Chosha. That refers to an animal which is Chosha, which is lean, which is not fatty. And therefore, in that case, it says it mentions the portion, the better portion first. In that case, the thigh is better because it has muscles, so that it has more meat. But in a fatty animal, the shoulder is better. The context of the pasuk is that the Rishonim who steal the lean animals of the poor people, they don't have very much, and the animals that they have are chushas, and even that they steal from the poor people. So in a kochush, the better part of it, there the thigh is the better part. Amar Rav Rava says, "Bein Tanadi Danavein Rav Yasi Basrilu the Visrazlin," and he says, in both cases, there you go, as the priority is to the quality of the meat. But what's the chilik between them? What's the chilik between the Tana Kama Bar Mishnah and Yasi Glili? Mara Hazel Basar Ivda Basar. One goes, our Tana goes with the one that has the most meat. Mara Hazel Basar Shmeina the Bisar. Another one goes, Rav Yasi goes not according to the quantity of the meat, how much meat, but how fatty it is, the good, better quality of it. So now, as we said, that according to everybody, according to all the opinions, first is the head and then is the regel. So my time is the regel b'haderation. Why is it that the right hind leg always goes with the head? Answers Mishum the Reisha and the Vishabeasamas, since their head has many bones, cover regel b'hadei, so the regel goes with it. The regel has meat on it, and therefore it has a meat on it to compensate for the lack of meat in the head, which was full bones. It had to compensate. Therefore, we choose a hind leg. Why do we choose the right leg? Because we always choose the right. The right has preference. So, therefore, that goes with the head. Mishum duration, the Vishabesam is karva regel behadei. The Kuli Almamia Rosh Carburation. But according to everybody, the head is first. Minolan, where do we know that? Where do we learn that from? The Sanya was taught on the Baraisa Minayin L'Rosh Uped Shikun L'Cholei Evorim. How do we know that the head and fat go before all of the Evorim? How do we know that the fat, the hard fat that's on top of the innards, how do I know that goes before the Evorim? It's the powder, it goes with with the Rosh. Talmud Loimar, it says in the pasuk as Roisha ves Pidra v'Orach. The pasuk says, V'nita hoisel n'sachav, they dismember the animal, ves Roisha ves Pidra v'Orach, the head and the part of Arach HaKoyin, ves Pidra v'Orach HaKoyin, oisam ala eisam ha'sharleisha, also mizbeach, so they go together. So you see the pasuk says they go together. V'idach pader achrina. And what is the other? The Torah also mentions another mention of Pader. So the pasuk says in a different pasuk, in pasuk Ches, the Torah says Eser Nusachim, Eser Reish Ve'Eser Pader. Why does it mention a second time? Lamai also. What's it for? Look at the Sanya. When he brings the head and the fat to the mizbeach, noisen es ha'peder abeis hashchita. He takes the fat and he covers the beis hashchita, the incision where it was cut, where the head was severed from the body, and then he puts on the mizbeach. V'zehu der kovet shel mala, and that's der kovet of mala, because the makam hashchita was full of blood and it was a cut that severed. He covered it up with the powder.